I think we made it. Hey guys, Yalanda at DryerBuzz, and that's of course DryerBuzz.com. Getting ready to take a nap. I have been live streaming, platform hopping, and all of that. And my daughter just reminded me, hey, drop something on YouTube. And so I wanted to try YouTube. I'm looking down because what I've been working on today is down there. It's at my feet, and it's a pile of books. And I've been going through books. I've been working to get my space ready and so forth. I'm going to check on another device here just so we can kind of see how this is going. A lot of sports streaming today. I'm really loving all of the sports. Even though, and that looks like a Falcons press conference that's going on, even though we're supposed to be boycotting football. But only because it's on the screen. So I'm going to, let me see if I can get out of this. I'm actually over here charging my tablet. But I want to see where this lands. I want to see how it lands and where it goes. And see if I can jump in and check it out. I know immediately when I save this, it's going to be, but I think I can do that and I can show, okay, so if there are comments, I can see comments on the screen, can like it and all of that. Still getting used to the fact that YouTube is now live again and mobile friendly. So I'm looking at my Facebook and I can see it there. So I'm going to click on it and bring it up just so I can have it in my side view because a time or two, oh my God, that's pretty cool. I'm going to turn to my desktop. Now, where am I in this process? Coming off of a summer hiatus. We take the summers off at DryerBuzz, kind of pausing up our editorial, switching up, not necessarily pausing up because there's been no absence. The only absence has been pretty much on YouTube because we haven't done our live talk show, haven't done an entertainment report or anything like that. And basically we have been, what we did for the summer was we just basically kept the book club going. Social media we kept going as well. Now, coming up in September, we will get moving into our 16th season of blogging at DryerBuzz.com. And so right now, I'm in between two phases. I'm working on the editorial schedule, basically what we're going to blog about, because people are asking, because they know that this is normally at a time where I connect with my partners, my sponsors, and all of that. So I'm getting all those phones ringing off the hook. DryerBuzz, what you got planned this year, this season? How can you help us create buzz? How can my business be a part of that, and so forth? So I'm there. Plus, it's getting ready to be budget season, meaning that everybody's doing their budget, so they want to make sure we'll help if they're going to advertise or launch any marketing campaigns. This is the time they're doing it. They're putting that line item in there. So it's really important to already, if you're monetizing what you're doing, it's really important that you already have some key numbers for people, especially even if it's just a number that you're going to throw out and maybe finalize later on. You're going to get those calls of people wanting to be involved if you are an influencer or a blogger. And so forth. And so you're going to get those calls. Let me see if I can start this and see what the delay is. Let's see. Okay, good. So, man, that looks really good. All right, so it looks like the stream looks like every other stream that I've been on. And it tells you that people are watching. Let me see. So I could probably take this. Let me go here. If I go to my page, and I'm going to have a conversation with you guys again about how it's all blogging. So I'm going to go to, and it says live now. Oh, cool. So let me go back. Oh, this is the one that's live now. And so I'm going to mute my computer here because I'm going to open it up. Look, it's here, and here behind me. So I'm just looking. It's this live control room. So I have a control room. What's in the control room? Let's see what's in the control room. So just looking at behind the scenes. So And then, of course, that's okay. That's still giving us some analytics. It's showing me the chat there if I wanted to use any stuff. Slate insertion, whatever that is. Broadcast alert. What's that? The broadcast is canceled. No. Okay. So I could put, okay. Oh, I could do a standby. Technical difficulties. Okay. And then that create highlights while live. I could create some upload highlight clips for your viewers even before your event finishes. Ensure sync to preview is enabled. Okay, so that, and then it's got analytics, got some translation over there. Okay, this is pretty cool. And it's got my timer on there. So that's kind of the whole behind the scenes of it. Live control room cards, ingestion settings. What is that? Info and settings. So we can do all of that. Oh, okay, so I can go ahead and put some of these on there as well. So these are some of the things that could kind of go in the back, go on in the background. We can monetize it. We definitely want to monetize that. What are oh wait, let me save this. Stay. Let me save that. Ingestion settings. Let's see what that is. So and if you can't answer me on here live, and I can see, hopefully I can see where are the comments on there. I love the shot on that. That is so clear. That is such a clear, nice, clear shot. I'm really loving that. All right, let's go back. How do I go back? Live streaming. Okay. Stream status is good. The health is good. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, so I like it. I like it. I do like it. Let me go back to, I'm going to do a quick search for us. It's all blogging. So and as I experiment with this, I'm trying to think of what we would normally use it for. And I think I'll use it to kind of come on and talk about blogging after 16 years in the blogosphere. I could talk about that. But I did title this, like, how do you find your niche? How do you find what you want to blog about? You know, a lot of people, when I have a workshop that we do once a month called Learn to Blog. And it's a meetup. It's a local meetup, but you can actually watch it. We do live stream it. And we'll probably put that on YouTube as well, depending on what the engagement is. Once we let our subscribers know that we will use YouTube more. And that's the thing that I need to look for. Like, how do I get this out to my subscribers? I've got YouTube subscribers. How do I then let them know that this is out there? Like, if I go, okay, I'm going to go to the page. More. Let me see. Add translation. Let me go to the share. See, like the share, you have your share, you have your embed, you have email, but I never see if it's, how do I know it went to subscribers? You know, that's a question. Like, it used to be in here on your subscribers there, you know. I mean, on your email. I don't even know where that is anymore. I could add it to... Oh, you know what I could do with this? I could put it in my sidebar as a playlist. Let me see. But see, then that would require me to do that. Like, I'm looking at the live page, and I don't have... Here's a more button. Let me see what I have. Okay, there's a share on there. So and that just lets me share it. One thing I do love about this, you can mute, and so I can share it out on platforms. But my concern with it is, how do I want it. Let's say that I wanted to, like, here's my blog, and here's my regular YouTube. But how do I then? I guess I could create a playlist. So now that I can add to the playlist. What if I did DryerBuzz Live? Okay. So that one, I'm going to create that one. Create new. Create. So then I could just add this to that. DryerBuzz Live. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go over here to my page. And I'm going to let me see, view channel. And then I'm going to go to playlist. And now that I have DryerBuzz Live with one video, I'm then going to embed this playlist into the blog. So let's get our appearance. Let's go into widgets. So from there, I'm going to put it on the blog, because then that way I can always encourage people and tell them that's where they can find it. So we're going to go to custom HTML. We're going to add it to the top up there, main sidebar area. And I'm going to add that there. And then we'll go watch DryerBuzz Live. Nope. Wait, I need this. Let me go back over here. Here. Cool. I'm gonna copy link address, and I'm just creating some. Dang. Oh, where did it go? Let me see. I'm just gonna create a link here. That's what I'm doing. And then I'm going to jump back over here. Nope. Where did I put that? Oh, here. There we go. Okay, cool. And then I need to, I don't know where this is ending up. Let me close that. And I need to put that. This I want at the top, where I have another one there. And then I have that one. I'm getting too much in the sidebar here. So now I'm going to check the sidebar. Oh, you know what? I need to resize it. What size did I use? I think I used 300. Oh, is that size okay? Okay, I guess it's automatically sized. Okay. All right. So, and then I put a hyperlink up under it saying be sure to subscribe. So I have that there. So now they can watch DryerBuzz Live. So if anybody, when they're on the website, now what I did, I have my regular YouTube playlist here, but then I have my live. That's going to encourage me to go live more. So I have that, and I'm going to use it more often. Although I want to do something, I'll probably play around with the size of that a little bit more. So it says Watch DryerBuzz Live YouTube. This says Watch DryerBuzz and Friends, because in this playlist is not all DryerBuzz. It's actually mine, plus I feature other video there. And then let me see what they have access to on here. They can go full screen, got your sound, and you have your share. Okay, that's cool. And then you have your playlist. So since this is added to that playlist as a live, it'll still be there. They can watch this after the fact. Okay, so one of the things we talked about is finding your niche. Again, here going into September, now is the time to really define your editorial. If you're a blogger, you should be able to personally identify who you want to read or consume any piece of content that you put out there. Nothing you should put out there say, oh, this is for everybody and anybody. That doesn't work when it comes to monetizing. By monetizing, I mean monetizing goes two ways. One, you need to reimburse each and every expense. And then the other, you need to bring your income. So whatever income level you want to get from blogging or being, using social media or using social media for business, you need to know that. You need to be able to drop that number at any time, because people, when you become a pro at it, or when you begin to get professional, go into the professional realm of it, people are going to ask, how much? How much to do this, how much to do that, how much to have you do this, how much to have you do that, and those kind of things. So, and you need to know, because what you don't want to do is, have all this money coming in, and at the end of the year when you get ready to do taxes, you find that you just kind of broke even because you didn't know what the cost of everything was. And when I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and they want to use social media for marketing, social media for business, and things like that. And the first question I need to know is, we need to talk about budget. We need to talk about what everything costs. If I ask another entrepreneur, what does it cost me to do this YouTube? They're going to say, well, it's free because somebody else is writing the check for this. It's never free. There's nothing in life that's free. Absolutely nothing. Everything has a cost associated with it. And the first and foremost, this has a cost of my time. How much, let's see, 16 minutes, about 17 minutes I've been in this video. There's a cost to that. Somebody at YouTube is writing the check for me to do it on YouTube. I have to write the check for me to sit here, be in this space, have the internet. There's multiple devices. You guys are on a device that I didn't have to pay for this. It was actually provided for by one of my sponsors, because in joystick, you guys are on my joystick where I just got a battery warning. So pardon the sound while I plug this in. Hopefully we can get it plugged in right away, and I won't have to irritate you so much. Let's see here. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm a stickler too. I hate touching it when I'm doing that. So let me see if I can bring you guys back around here a little bit. Even though my book is now in the shot over there. And as a blogger, I am the author of 27 Answers to Create Buzz, which is a book that I wrote, or 27 articles. That's 27 articles that I published on. Thank you so much. Somebody gave me a hands up. Those are 27 articles that I published on. I'm talking about the book. I can keep it in the shot. 27 articles that I published about blogging and using social media. And so that's available at 27answers.com. But I really want to talk about niche and budgeting. Write this down. F-R-E-E, free. What does it cost? What is free? Let's see if we can bring that up just a little bit more there. Free, F-R-E-E. It means fully reimburse each expense. Nobody will tell you that but DryerBuzz. Anything that you see out there that's free, if you're not paying for it, then somebody somewhere has to fully reimburse each expense. Everything that you do. If you look, you guys are on my iPhone, which I have to pay to have a service on that iPhone. I'm broadcasting via my internet. I have to pay for that. I have an iPad over here. I had to pay for that. I have a desktop. I had to pay for that. Everything has a cost. Sitting here for 20 minutes is a cost to that. And so when you talk about monetizing your blog, it's not just about, making the money or making a little bit of money, depending on what you want to do with it, have fun, make money, whatever. But when it becomes a business, when it becomes, something you got to communicate with the IRS about, you want to make sure that you are fully reimbursed in each expense. Even with IRS, you cannot operate at a loss. You can only operate at a loss in the startup phase, but at some point you have to turn a profit, or you're not a business, you're a hobbyist, okay? And sometimes it's okay to be a hobbyist, because then you have a little bit of money coming in, but you're not yet accountable. I'm accountable to a deadline or a timeline. I have this event coming up on September the 2nd. I spent all yesterday working on that, getting my speakers at the event, working on today, I got a location. I've got get my now I got to find breakfast because we are moving from a restaurant, whereas we used to, the breakfast was there. Now I've got to find, and I was hoping another chef would be available, but she's having amazing opportunities. So now I've got to find another caterer, somebody to cater breakfast and so forth. That's a cost, right? And I got to make sure that the sponsors and things like that I'm bringing on, that I'm able to reimburse the expenses as well as support myself, with part of that being an income. And you will find that a lot of entrepreneurs shy away from that conversation. And if you are that person, you have to shy away from that conversation, then you need to bring a professional in to have that conversation with you. That's why you see a lot of people that have representations, or they have, PR publicists, all of that kind of stuff, or they join different speaking organizations, services, associations, and so forth. And that's real important too when you think about becoming a blogger, or going into the blogger sphere, or a writer, or an influencer. You need to join professional associations, because that's number one. That's where your work is protected. That's where the information flows. Opportunities come through associations. So you want to be a part of associations. And if you have, and today in social media, everybody has an audience. So there's a lot of benefits to having an audience. So make sure that you can join just your general press associations. There are blogger associations. There are other associations that you can join, business associations. They're not just for networking. So when you think about whether or not you should join business associations, think about protection. That's where a lot of people protect their work, is through those associations, because they give you access to lawyers, they give you access to education and curriculum and different things like that as it pertains to your industry. There's a lot of general information out there, but what you're using all of this stuff for, if you are using it as a business, you need to be a part of the professional associations, because that's where the protection comes from. Not only that, that's also where the recognition comes from. So when you think about joining associations, and you see somebody that says award-winning, like you look at my bio and you see award-winning superblogger, it's because I joined very early on. I came in through associations, and mind you, when I started blogging as a thing, blogging wasn't really a thing. So I came in as new media, as online media, and I joined media associations and organizations. And it was through those organizations that you get recognition. So when you see that somebody, like even people who win an Oscar or all those awards, they are part of an association. It's not just because so-and-so had a great film and they were the best actress, no. They are part of an association, an Actors Guild, an Actors Association. It's the Academy Awards. Academy is an association, right? That's why you feel like some people get snubbed. Whether it's not all the time that they get snubbed. They're just not a part of the association. They made a movie. They put out a movie. It did wonderful. Everybody went to see it. But were they a part of the association? Did they submit? Because not only that, you could be a part of the association, but if you want to get the recognition and win the awards, you have to submit in order to win. And a lot of films, there's a reason why films come out at the times that they do come out, or release in this city, or select releases and so forth, because those are the guidelines of those associations that say your film has to come out between this date and this date and this city and this city, and it has to appear on this X amount of screens, it has to have X amount of writers. There are a lot of songs that everybody loves. They're like, oh man, this song was hot. Why? Everybody was singing that song. Well, guess what? In order to get a particular award, that song can't have 4 or 5 songwriters on it. I remember there was one Beyonce song that everybody thought it was the hottest song ever. And everybody thought, well, Beyonce should have won that. But what they did was, there were too many people credited on the writing of that song. And to get Beyonce to sing one of your songs, you got to put Beyonce down as in the writing credits, right? That's something that they negotiate, right? And so I think that particular award, that somebody that they wanted, that everybody thought she would have won, it had 4 songwriters on it, and I think you only could have 3 for that association for that particular award. Same thing goes on with writers. There's a writers guild. There is all kind of guilds and association. Blogging is no different. That's why you see some people go to some blogging conferences and they don't go to others, because some of them are part of associations, some of them are part of everything, some are part of one or two, right? And so the same thing with blogging and media. Some media associations will welcome and open their doors to bloggers as members. Some of them won't open their doors to bloggers as members because they separate journalists and bloggers. Like you have Journalists Association, which are getting hit really hard right now, especially in this Trump era and this war that he has launched. And speaking of lunch, dinner just arrived. In this war that Trump has unleashed on journalists, which looks very familiar to somebody's media apartheid. But in his war on journalists, some people are saying, well, hey, let's go with the bloggers on this. And I will never forget, I was at an association meeting, and at that association meeting, I was sitting right next to a journalist, and she was like, well, I don't understand why bloggers are getting more access to events and people than journalists, One, because the blogger doesn't have to go back and sell the story to the editor and fight over the words and fight over the photos and make sure the story gets put out there in time. The blogger usually can decide, hey, let's roll with it, let's go with it. They can tell more of the story, they can publish more photos, more audio, all of that, more so than and you let's say, because I'll never forget, I actually was sitting side by side in an interview with a very high-profile celebrity, was summoned to blog about Whitney Houston. I'll say that. Whitney wasn't able to pull it together that day, and so we ended up interviewing Bobby Brown. And it was myself and then a writer from People Magazine. And the People Magazine writer, they had called her and said, hey, listen, go interview Bobby Brown for her. She was very nervous. And they paired us together. And she went in, and the first question she asked offended Bobby Brown so bad that he was like, okay, I'm not talking to her no more. What do you have? And I ended up, because being a blogger and knowing a little bit of the inside, being from Atlanta, knowing that Whitney and Bobby were living in Atlanta at the time, there were a lot of notorious things going on, infamous things going on, and I knew that Bobby Brown was very protective of Whitney, and so I took and seeing that interview crash, I knew to go spin it around. Let's do this differently, and it ended up being one of the best interviews that I had. And I'm trying to think, I do have, and I said the other day, I thought I would be able to find that pretty quickly, but I don't guess I can. So it ended up being, and it helped to launch. That was one of the interviews that helped to launch us as a blog and to build our reputation for, okay, she's willing to hear a different side of the story. She's willing to come with different questions. She's willing to ask, other things that are also as equally as important. I was empathetic to the fact that Whitney Houston had lost her father. Yeah, okay, she was not dabbling, but she was seriously involved with drugs and whatnot. But at the same time, one of the reasons she was, and I was able to understand that, is because she was suffering from heartbreak. Whitney Houston had a tremendous heartbreak because her relationship with her dad had suffered through her drug addiction and the lifestyle that she was living here in Atlanta. And it was suffering, and there was a battle going back and forth between her parents over her child and other issues and things like that, of them wanting to control her estate or gain control of her estate, because, we know now in hindsight that things were just kind of out of control. So I approached that interview with the sense of, here's a woman trying to pull it together, do this major press day. It was a building. They rented a building and had every level of press in that building to interview Whitney that day, because this was going to be the comeback. This was going to be bringing her back to the forefront, but it was too soon. It was literally too soon. Her father had just died. Not only that, they weren't on the best speaking terms. They had all of this judicial stuff, legal cases going on between them. And not only that, for him to die and never to have resolved with your father. We're talking about a father-daughter relationship, okay? And so being that I approached Bobby with that kind of empathy for the woman that he had been protecting their entire marriage, and still to this day, he opened up. He opened up and answered each of my questions, and we had an amazing interview, took amazing pictures before, during, and after, introduced me to all of his siblings, his brother, and so forth. But, you know, that's the difference, I think, with blogging. It's like you can flip the script like that. And the same thing goes for big business and small business. Like, say if we have changes in our industry and changes in our economy, whereas the small business can instantly flip the script and still hold on to their customers, big entities have to you know, go before their stockholders and the boards and all this kind of things, and they might miss the boat on some things. Like, say for instance, right now with Amazon, you know, competing with Amazon, it's very easy to compete with Amazon. I can say that as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, hey, I feel like I can, at any moment I wanted to compete with Amazon, I can compete with Amazon, because competing with Amazon just means doing business with a button, which you can watch on YouTube. I did a video about it, how to compete with Amazon. If a business, especially a local business, would just come up with a app, a mobile device, and really let go. Businesses today, the reason they aren't competing with Amazon is because they don't want to relinquish part of that customer relationship, meaning that, you know, the customer doesn't want to call you, they don't want to be on the phone, and they want to meet you at the curb. If you're not ready, you're still trying to get that customer into the store as opposed to taking the merchandise to them on the curb, then you're probably not going to compete with Amazon. If you don't want, you're not ready for a customer to call and say, hey, listen, can you just bring me a box of this or send me a box of this or that? No, you still want them to come in. You want that opportunity to not only sell, you want to try and upsell and all that kind of stuff. Amazon is doing that with a button. If you're not ready to do it with a button, then no, you can't compete with Amazon. But the minute that you're ready to do it with a button, to do business with a button, then you can compete with Amazon. Amazon hasn't made a product yet. Amazon is full of business owners, entrepreneurs, people who have, Amazon is full of people who sell stuff that's willing to sell it without face-to-face interaction, willing to sell it at the best price, willing to sell it at a convenience. If you're not ready to put your customers' convenience first, then no, you cannot compete with Amazon. The same thing with blogging. Bloggers have had to realize, it's like, you know, especially, I've been out here for 16 years, and when you look at how the readership has evolved over the 16 years, you know, you got a chance to watch newspapers lose almost their entire industry, finally giving in, unlike the music industry, finally giving in to the fact that people want the information at a convenience, and that means that a convenience to them, not to you. They either want to get the paper, or they want to read it online, or they want to download it. Newspapers like the music industry fought that for a while, and then when they gave into it, they decided, well, we're going to come online and give all of our content away for free. Well, you can't meet your $1 billion budgets giving it away for free. You just can't. And so now, after everybody spent their first 10 years online, say, well, from 2007 to 2017, and everything online was free, and now you're trying to change up their behaviors and their habits of getting it for free to back to a model of paying for it, because that's how the internet started. Was anything that you consumed on the internet, you had to pay for it, right? Our blogs had a paywall. You had to subscribe. There was some kind of exchange of currency, and currency, not I mean just money. Then you had to come with monetizing and so forth. And you guys, I'm telling you, I've got all these books at my feet, and they're still piling over, and I need to put them back in the thing. I did a live stream earlier. I was going through all of my books as I transitioned to my new bookshelves. And so at my feet, I have all of these books. I mean, when I tell you, I have book after book after book because I have a book club. And so I pulled out all of these books and we kind of went through and we talked through them. And so even while I'm sitting here, they're still just shuffling around. And I'm like trying to get comfortable. And I have like literally a floor full of books because I'm redoing my bookshelves, and I was organizing, trying to figure out as I go into this new season. The book club that we started is going to continue. It started during the summer, and we selected some 15 books. It's called This Ain't That Book Club, and one of the reasons we call it This Ain't That Book Club because we don't have the attention span to read the entire book, but we wanted to build a nice library. And we wanted books that read like blogs, books that had information and answers and so forth. And so earlier today we did choose a book, and this is the book that we chose. Normally we would go in store and I would live stream in a bookstore, and we would talk about books and we would select a book to read. But being that I was going through my own personal collection and books that I may have, picked up from an event or meeting or interviewing various authors. This one of the editors of this one is Alice Lovelace. I met her in 2012, and I think I've had this book since that time. And I never really got a chance to go, and I was like, man, this book looks brand new. It's been on the bookshelf. And I read a little excerpt of it, and I said, you know what, we need to explore this. And so this is going to be our book. And I'm going to see if it'll help me as I plan out my 2017-2018 season at DryerBuzz.com. And so we selected that. And then I had a number of books here from authors. And I have a story for each of my books. And so it was good to reminisce earlier on about the books and so forth. I'm just experimenting with YouTube Live. I see that there are some viewers on. You guys always swipe, and I can say swipe to my profile because that's a thing on Periscope. But you can always check it out. You can go. I know if you're watching on YouTube, if you're on your phone, stay with me. If you're on your desktop, you can also go over to DryerBuzz.com. And let me tell you a little bit about that. As I was talking about how to find your niche, our niche kind of found us. Our niche, I will say that our niche found us, and how our niche found us was I had one thing in mind as to what I was going to write about, what I was going to, and I keep saying blog, but during that time it wasn't called blog. I was creating an online magazine. One of the reasons I was creating an online magazine because during the Clinton years, it wasn't a good time to make an investment into a glossy magazine. And I had a number of various newsletters that I published around the city, in the community. And I would put those newsletters in the hair salons. And I created these binders that would rest in the dryer sections, okay? So while you were under the dryer, you could, because I had found out through just studying media and publications and magazines that there was an extensive shelf life. There's an extensive shelf life in the barbershops and in the salons. You take a book in there, a magazine, it pretty much stays forever until the salon owner tosses it out for a newer collection, right? And so I had a newsletter. In that newsletter, I wrote about justice items. I had an article section called Inside Atlanta Radio, where I would write about all the different changes. You know, Atlanta radio was explosive during that time. It was beginning to grow. You know, everything in Atlanta was driven by radio, whether you went shopping, bought cars, went to the clubs, all of your entertainment. And Atlanta's still no, I won't say it is today, but to some degree, Atlanta, a portion of Atlanta is still driven by radio. Well, right now, Atlanta is driven by social media, which is, you know, and other mediums that have that compete daily with radio. I won't say replace radio, but compete daily with radio. And so I had an article called Inside Atlanta Radio because I don't know how, but I knew a lot of people in radio, or that was my radio was always my curiosity. And that's how you end up doing something for the length of time that I've done this. Radio was I had a curiosity about radio. I always loved radio. I still to this day I love radio. I listen to radio, and it's like, and I forget when I'm home that I can listen online, because I'm a car radio listener, and it's hard to go from that to the apps and those and different things like that. Like, I'm sitting here like, wow, I could have been listening to all of my favorite shows because I'm home all day today. And so radio, I wrote about radio, articles about radio, articles about moving to Atlanta. Many people during that time were relocating to Atlanta, wanted to know where to live, where to send their kids to school, where to eat, where to go, events, and those kinds of things. And I published these as newsletters. And in publishing them as newsletters, and in my connection to radio, people would always come to me as a source. So as the internet started to grow, and as search engines became a thing, because once upon a time, there were no search engines were not a thing. And search engines were very biased and almost proprietary. Until Google came along, search engines were not necessarily like an open platform. They showed a lot of favor to certain sites and whatnot. But when Google came along, Google opened up Google leveled the playing field where everybody could be listed almost equally. That's not the case today, but everybody could be listed equally. And so then everybody, whereas they came before Google, they began to compete with Google. And in that we were local or hyper local about Atlanta, we earned a very strong presence in social media. So anytime anybody was, searching before Google and searching about Atlanta, they would end up on one of the websites that I manage. From that, I got an opportunity, an invitation to participate in some of the very own internet radio. And going on to internet radio, which was more popular outside of Atlanta, because remember I said Atlanta was driven by radio. So outside of Atlanta to internationally, I became known as a person in Atlanta, because everybody all over the world was one day coming to Atlanta. And I would say it's Yalanda live from Atlanta. And so I started creating websites for the newsletters that I had. And when I created those websites for these newsletters, because the early internet population was much smaller than it is today. When I created those newsletters, the website grew popular, and one day I got a call. This is how I say my niche kind of found me. I got a call from the site that was hosting my website, and he says, I think you need to look at these websites. They're getting some serious traffic. And you might want to think about, kind of expanding on this and so forth. And at that time, there was no quick WordPress or anything like that. You literally had to code and design and learn HTML and all this stuff to do a website, right? So I was teaching myself that, self-taught on all of this. And when he told me that, I said, well, maybe I should think about, because at the time I was still planning to launch a glossy magazine. And I said, well, maybe since I can't do the glossy right now because of the economy, magazines were at the time, and still is today, supported by advertising. And a lot of businesses were pulling their advertising dollar because, what was going on with media, with newspapers, right? And so I decided I would do it in a digital format. I would do a website. And I would still do the newsletters, but in the growth of that, they would take on the form of a website. And so going in the digital realm, I started doing the websites. I also, for those who couldn't get online, because remember we had the digital divide. Everybody had dial-up at home. If they had dial-up, if they had internet at all, it was dial-up. And I would publish my websites on CD. So if you had internet, you could use a CD to get online. This is how you had to get somebody to your website. Nobody understood when you gave them your domain name. Nobody understood how to go to your website. Nobody understood what to do with that. But remember, during the day, you had a CD-ROM on your computer. So I would distribute the CD-ROMs in the hair salons and in the barbershops where I had my binder of newsletters. And so when you left the salon or barbershop, you take the CD. Most people would put the CD in their car CD player, and I would have a piece of audio on it. This ain't that CD. You need to put this CD in your computer. And then I'd have some music on there and different things they could listen to on the way home. I would have some narrative explaining to them what a website was, what information, if they were to put this in their computer, what's going to happen when you put this in your computer. It's going to show you, take you to a website. If you have more than dial-up, you can go online and preview the website. If you don't have internet, you could browse the website on the CD. And that became very popular. And so we ended up changing the name, thanks to an angel whispering in my ear, DryerBuzz. And that became the name of all of the entities that I had. My company was Distributions. That was all about distributions. And DryerBuzz became it, and that was March 12th, 2002, which was my daughter's birthday, but I registered the site March 13, 2002. And 16 years later, that is the history of DryerBuzz. Now, how the niche found me was very early on, before I got into, article writing, storytelling, long form writing. I started out, and most websites started out just as photography based, picture based. And so once I did a couple of coveted events, like everybody else, during that time, posting your pictures online, I got invited to some events, and I noticed at these larger events there was some bias, some prejudices as to who would get coverage. And this is how I say my niche found me, because I started out going to these events, and I noticed that people were excited to see a black female photographer. One, to see a female photographer and then a black female photographer. That, of course, meant to them, I'm going to get comfortable here, that, of course, meant to them a different type of storyteller. Maybe she will publish pictures of African Americans, because early on in the internet, if you logged on, I feel like I'm rocking. Early on in the internet, if you logged on early on in the internet, you did not see black people, black, brown, African American, or any other cultures. And that's one of the reasons why I started doing websites, because I had to log on every single day. And during that time, I think MSN was the big website, was the homepage before Google, right? So you log on, you go to the homepage or whatever your internet provider was, and there only was a couple of them if you weren't on AOL. If you had anything other than AOL, you went to your homepage was MSN. And every day I would log on, and I never would see anybody that looked like me. And that's why I got into doing websites, because I'm going to create a website where everybody looks like me. And so in that, people began to see that, like, say, for instance, even when 9/11 happened, I spent the rest of that week doing a website of 9/11. I still feel like my chair is rocking. And it was heartbreaking that like I said, my niche found me. During 9/11, I ended up doing a website, and I'll never forget, because almost immediately, once media got a grasp and took over the coverage of 9/11, it went from being this global disaster that happened to people of great diversity and nationalities, till the media knocked out all the minorities, and the only thing they talked about was, and I'm sorry to say this, but it's the truth, the only thing they talked about was the white male first responders and white male victims. And it's almost like you almost to this day feel like there were no women, that there were no children, that there were no minorities, and so forth. So I ended up, after getting over the shock of that, because we were actually live streaming that day, and I had an audience. I was moving to another internet radio, and the internet radio station we were going to was supposed to launch 9/11, and I had during that time, message boards were really big, and I remember I spent the rest of the day after 9/11 and the rest of that week pulling together all of the missing and victims' photos of people of color. And I created a web page, and I'll never forget. And I wish it was still out there somewhere. I used the music from Aaliyah, and I heard this song on the radio the other day, and my mind went back, almost like I went right back in time, because I remember the portion of that song. It says, "I just want to talk to you." I just wanted something she says in that song, and I used that music because back then websites, you have all those bells and whistles, and oh good, we're coming up on an hour here. I'm gonna jump off, but and that's how I say my niche found me, because when I started, I didn't start to tell the story of minorities or to be a black blog as people try to put us in a box, or talk about only Black Atlanta, or talk about only justice issues affecting African Americans. That's the niche that found me, because I was open to giving them space on my magazine, on my newsletters, on my live streams, and allowing that voice to be there. Even to this day, I still try to expand beyond that and be the media outlet or the publication that I really would like to see. I really would like to see something of true international diversity. And it's hard. It's hard because media still works within boxes. If you're in media or in blogging, you still have to label yourself or get in some particular box. You still have to identify your niche or your audience, your target market. You still have to identify that, and there's not very much in this sector or in this sphere that allows you to overlap. There's not much overlap, and if you don't believe me, go to your favorite news source, click on About Us, go to the advertising, look in the demographics of who they say their demographics are. Who are they producing content for? Even though they're on the internet, even though everybody has access to it, it's not intended for everyone. And when you go and look at that, you'll see what I mean. And that's just, and I still want to break that back. 16 years at this, to say that we still have to have questions and discussions about diversity. I'm at the point now, so tired of the word diversity, because it means divide us up, and I don't want to divide us up. I just want to be a storyteller. I just want to tell stories. I just want to find those people who want to be heard, who want to be listened to, who are doing amazing things in this world. And I want to put them on my blog and not get an inbox or a message or email and say, "Hey, can you move us to another category? Can you delete that? Can you take that down?" Simply because they don't want to be side by side. And that's something that we definitely have had to deal with over the past 16 years. And I mean, as recently as very recently. And I love how they tried to phrase it, but I knew what it was, because I was blogging about a particular theater, and I've been a theater blogger for the duration I've had my website. And only on one other occasion have I gotten an inbox like that about a story that I've done about my experience at the theater. It was a raving review, and not even a review, because I don't do reviews, but the language that they use, trying not to use the other language, But I mean, I have to understand, because that's how media is, and you have to understand that when you come into the blogging sphere, that many will try and put you in a box. If you don't want to be in a box, then you don't have to. But it just depends on what you want to do. Same thing going on today. I'm doing radio tomorrow to talk about people who are wanting to go out and practice their free speech, but finding that they are losing their jobs because of it, So I have to come up with some tips tonight of how to protest, how to use your day off to protest and not get fired. It's like, because like all the people that went to the Charlotte March, no matter what side they were on, and then people tagging them, hey, this is so-and-so, and they work for this. You need to email this company. They need to get rid of them, and so forth and so forth. Before you go out and protest, before you go out and become a blogger, before you go out and tweet something or post something on social media, you better check. You better check your HR department. If your job is more important than that issue you want to use your free speech about, you better make sure that they won't cower to public demand, and that you can do what it is you don't want, that you can still have a voice. Okay, because there ain't nothing like going out there and protesting and then can't pay your bills. So that's the end of that. Somebody decided to watch this with me. Thank you so much. I'm just trying it out. I love YouTube. We've done so much on YouTube. YouTube has been great to DryerBuzz. We started out, I think our first YouTube video we did 10 years ago. Unfortunately, that same topic is still a topic of us doing YouTubes today. Hopefully society will get better. I think if Trump does anything, he's going to make us the most humane society ever, because that is the most inhumane, insane, diabolical, tiradiness, rantiness man that we have ever seen. And I think he's live right now as we speak. But there's so much good that comes out of bad. Let me try this. I see that before we get out of here, I'm going to just play around with some of the, let's see here. There are some filters on here. I forgot about that. If I wanted to try some of the filters. Oh, I like the 8mm, but sometimes that speckling gets to be a little too much. I think it's cool when you just throw them up every now and then. So that one is a dream sequence. That one, oh, look at that. Isn't that cool? It changes colors. Then, of course, you have your bubbles, and then, of course, you have your normal. I always like a little bit of warmth in mine, like something like that. But because I have my website stuff going on in the background, I didn't want to change the color. So let me close that. And then, of course, you can flip the screen. And then, of course, you can mute. So I love that. All right, so I guess when I hit stop, this will be available on my YouTube. And I'm going to do more of these because, I mean, YouTube is still the better platform of all. Just got to figure out how to connect again with the subscribers. And I guess before you go live, promoting that you're going to go live. Again, my niche found me as I stepped out there as a photographer, and coming to me and asking me to tell their stories. I built a reputation for getting the story out. Now, today, I'm in an award. I'm talking about award winning. I am nominated for Best in Media with the Rice Awards. You can go to thericeawards.com and vote for DryerBuzz. And again, DryerBuzz the name came about because we were popular in the hair salons and in the barbershops. We facilitate some of those great conversations that you have. And if we ever get back to where we're under the dryer, because there's so much natural hair going on, but while you're in the salons and in the barbershops, on your phones or whatever your favorite device, you can always go to DryerBuzz.com and explore some amazing content there. So, and I'm going to get back to planning my editorial. I have to come up with the one thing we're going to do daily, the one thing we're going to do weekly, the one thing we're going to do monthly, the one thing we're going to do quarterly, and the one thing we're going to do annually. And then I have to go to my sponsors and say, for this, I need this, okay? And they're already calling. It's like, hey, we're getting ready to do our budgets. What you got planned for the year? And so I've got to do that. But if you are in Atlanta, you can join me. Speaking of what we do monthly, we have Breakfast with DryerBuzz, which is on the flyer right here behind you. And we have the promos are in our YouTube channel, so you can check it out on our channel. Breakfast with DryerBuzz is a leadership breakfast for those who are focusing on becoming an entrepreneur, expanding your career, or doing your best for your family. So entrepreneur, business, career, and family. is what the breakfast focuses on. You dine on a menu of mentors, some amazing mentors we bring together each month, and for an amazing breakfast. It starts at 8 a.m. We've got a new location, new partners this year. We're excited about that, coming into our second season of Breakfast with DryerBuzz. We're going to be at the John Rick Salon, which is located in downtown Atlanta, right there at 200 Peachtree in the mezzanine. It's a beautiful salon and spa, med spa. So you get to come for breakfast. You can stay and enjoy some spa services. And then also I have a Learn to Blog workshop. So if you watch these videos, you want to know more. If you're in Atlanta or coming to Atlanta, you can meet me for a Learn to Blog workshop. We have a meetup. Go to meetup.com and look for the Learn to Blog meetup. And we'll plan those, get those started again for the season as well. And that's pretty much it. And then we have This Ain't That book. I don't want to tell you too much. Right now, think about it. Plan on meeting for breakfast. If you are not in Atlanta, we do have a sponsored breakfast camp, which means we will also live stream breakfast. So you get to watch the live stream. But let me tell you, you want to be in the room. You talk about amazing collaboration, real networking. You want to be at Breakfast with DryerBuzz. We go pro. Okay, so for those that are professional. Again, make sure you subscribe if you caught this live or catching it live or just see it out there on the menu. Check out the other content, 10 years of amazing content we have on YouTube for you. I'll be back with more of these talking about It's All Blogging, as well as I'm going to be doing our regular blog report, entertainment blog report will be coming as well. And that's going to be about maybe 4 to 5 minutes, but 5 minutes or less on that. We also have a, to go along with 27 Answers to Create Buzz, the book, we have a 27 Answer playlist. And one of the most popular ones on there right now is where I wrote 27 Answers to Rock Like Oprah. And we talk about what is the essence of Oprah. Why is there only one Oprah? There's not just one Oprah. So that's why you got to go watch 27 Answers. Oprah is in media, so you got to know about Oprah. But there's many more you don't know about that's doing some amazing things and making money just like Oprah. But definitely go out there and check out 27 Answers to Rock Like Oprah. I give you the essence of Oprah in that one. I also have 27 Answers to Rock Like Beyonce and Serve Lemonade. You got to check that out. You can watch them both on our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and follow me. I'm Yalanda at DryerBuzz. Of course, DryerBuzz.com.